You know what time it
Time to
is.
stand up and speak your mind. In this elitist jungle, keep the beats alive. Whether yoga or doja that keeps you high. Gotta stay up, cause on the street you die. Time to wake up and see the light. Stop counting sheep, seize your life. Free your eyes and see suns rise on the horizon. Where the street meets the sky. The master's ignorance feeds our master's greed.
Check, check, check. Good morning. What is going on, everybody? Do I always say that every time? What is going on, everybody? Maybe it's time to record a new intro song, everybody. All right. Well, I'm checking in. It's Tuesday morning. I woke up at 0500. Not too shabby. Yeah, woke up at 0500. So that's okay. What time did I go to bed? About 9:30, which probably means I fell asleep about 10 o'clock. So 5's okay. 5's okay. Started a new job yesterday. It went pretty good. Fucking long day. Oh, good Lord. But it went great. Yeah, it was a pretty long day. I haven't worked a long day like that in quite some time. And it was good. Got to meet one of the new guy, or I'm the new guy, but I got to meet one of my new coworkers, new to me. He was really cool. Showed me some ropes. We got to do some things. Got to make a little extra coin. Got to do some sales. Throw on some extra business. So it was a fantastic day, man. It was a really good day. We were talking a little bit about that yesterday, which was the last podcast. This one will come out later, but I'm still checking in because I said I would check in from yesterday. So now I'm checking in today. Yesterday was Monday, first day of the new job. Today is Tuesday. Didn't get up at 04, but I got my ass out of bed at 05, so I'm going to work into that. We're going to work back to the 0400 situation. I'm going to set a goal for myself at 05 and maintain that 05. We're going to maintain 05. No later than. I'm gonna set a boundary for myself. I'm gonna set a limit for myself. No later than 0500, no matter what. I think we might have spoke about that before. I might have mentioned that before. I was running that program before. I was running the 04. Let's get up and go to the gym. And then I sort of was like, well, if I stay up later, then no later than 05. I think that's reasonable. And so, excuse me. So, yesterday we broached the subject, and we're going to move right on. We're going to move past that, and we're going to move into this next subject. And yesterday I spoke a little bit about these definitions, about responsibility. So let's get back into these definitions again. I got the definitions right here, because I want to talk about personal responsibility, individual responsibility. So responsibility, the state or fact of having a duty to deal with or of having control over someone. The state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something. The opportunity to act independently and make decisions without authorization. A thing that one is required to do as part of a job, role, or legal obligation. A moral obligation to behave correctly toward or in respect of. So let's see if we can break some of this down. So what I want to talk about is personal responsibility, because I feel like this is lacking a lot these days, in these modern times, in these times, these difficult times that feel like we're going through right now. People lack responsibility. From my view, this is my view. I know I'm not the only one who views this way. I know I'm not the only one who thinks this way. What I see is a lot of victimhood, and what I see is a lot of dependency, and what I see is a lot of people that want somebody else to take care of all of the problems in the world for them, and they don't want to take on any of the struggles or any of the challenges that come up in life. They want someone else to take care of it for them. And I see this and have seen this, as a problem of our modern society. The novelty of modern society has made things really easy for us to get by. If you think about it, let's think about this really simply. You can go to the grocery store. You can get chicken. You can get chicken cooked. You can get that chicken already sliced up into nice little pieces for you. All you got to do is come home, throw it in a microwave box, hit beep, beep, boop, boop, beep, beep, beep. It warms up for a couple minutes. You put it in a bowl, you put it in your mouth, you eat it. Really, the only responsibility that you have, the only effort it takes, is the effort it takes to go to the grocery store. The only discipline that it might take is going to the grocery store. Now, since COVID, and even before COVID, they had you don't even have to go to the grocery store anymore. You can just get on your phone, get on one of those apps, tell them what you want from the grocery store. They'll deliver that joker right to your front door. You don't even have to go to the store. So, with all of this ease that we have, why would anybody want to take on responsibility? Let alone, let's just say, taking on the responsibility of protecting yourself or protecting your family, if you had a family. So, I think that a lot of people are raised and grow up in this culture of being taken care of. Therefore, when things come up, they don't want to take on responsibility. They want somebody else to do it, right? Even if that means they pay for it. Like, they want the government to do it, or I guess we pay our taxes. That's like paying the guy to bring the thing to your door, bring the chicken to your door. We don't grow our vegetables. They're grown for us. I mean, I grew up like this too. I didn't grow my own vegetables. I didn't kill the chicken that we ate. I went to the grocery store. I mean, we didn't have these delivery services really like they do now. You still had to get out and go to the go grocery shopping. Maybe they had some delivery services like for old folks who were broken down. But we talked about that in vulnerability, right? Those old folks are a little bit more vulnerable. A young person like me in my 40s, there's no excuse for me not to get up, get out, go to the grocery store, buy some food, come home, cook it, right? Cook healthy, eat healthy. There's some discipline involved in that. Going to the store, right? There are movements, actions that need to be taken. So responsibility, what do we have here? A thing that one is required to do as a part of a job, a role, or a legal obligation. How could going to the store be required? Well, I have a role. I have a job. My job is to take care of Jason. I have a role, self-care. Legal obligation, I'm not legally obliged to take care of myself, technically speaking. I guess I have a legal obligation to take care of my daughter, but that's also a role, a father. I have a moral obligation to take care of my daughter, for sure. Morally, according to me, I have a moral obligation. I suppose if you're a nihilist, then you wouldn't have any moral obligation. A moral obligation to behave correctly toward or in respect of a duty as a father, my duty to myself. The state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something. So I'm accountable. I'm accountable. If something happens to my daughter while she's under my care, I'm accountable and I'll be to blame. So my responsibility lies with care for my daughter. You know, and one of the things that this brings up for me, and one of the things that I think about when I think about this, is I think about like this gun control issue. And I don't get too political. I don't want to be too political in this, but this is just something that comes up when I think about personal responsibility. This is a big one for me. See, I'm of the mind, this is the way I think of it. I'm of the mind that it's my responsibility to protect myself and my family. My responsibility. It's my duty to deal with a state of fact of having a duty to deal with. It's my duty to take care of myself, protect myself and my family. It's my opportunity to act independently and make decisions without authorization. I'm in charge of me. I am the sovereign, protected by the Constitution. A thing that is required. It is required of me as my role as father and protector and man of the house to protect my home and my belongings. I have a moral obligation. Morally, I'm bound by fatherhood to protect my daughter. These are my beliefs. Therefore, my responsibility is to learn all of the skills, techniques, to have all of the tools at my disposal that it may take to protect my family, right? Being physically in shape is my responsibility. I'm in shape enough to go out there and do what is necessary. Having the tools, some training, some weapons, and maybe some other things in case we lose power, right? What if we lose power? What if the grocery stores stop, right? What being prepared, right? That those are responsibilities that I've taken on. But when it comes to this gun thing, right? I think this comes down to a lack of courage, honestly. And I think what's happening here is the people that want gun control are the people who are afraid to take care of themselves. They're afraid to take on the responsibility of having to use violence, if necessary, to protect themselves and their families. They are afraid to take on the responsibility of violence. And I can understand this. I can understand this from a place inside of me. I can understand this 100%. Man, we've talked about this before because when I was a young man, I did not like violence. I was not a fighter. I didn't scrap. I wasn't a scrapper. They called me a pussy because I didn't want to scrap. Fight hand to hand, with the other boys. I wasn't a big fighter. But as I've gotten older, as I served in the military, and as I've gotten older, I realized that and became aware of the fact that violence is a necessary evil sometimes. And always, step one would be to walk away. Get out of the situation and walk away from the situation. Get yourself and your families to safety. That's step one, walk away. But if you have no other option, then violence may become necessary. And the best way to use violence is to know how to use violence properly by being trained, right? By having the tools necessary. If a woman was trained to carry and use a handgun, I think that there would be less situations where and aware of her surroundings. If a woman was trained in jiu-jitsu, if a woman was trained in carrying a weapon and using those weapons, I think there'd be a lot less incidences of rape and assault on women by men, because women would be trained to be violent. They would understand violence, be trained in it, be physically fit, and be ready, right, to protect themselves. And they wouldn't depend on a police officer. They wouldn't depend on another man. They wouldn't depend on the government. They'd be able to depend on themselves, right? I plan to teach and encourage my daughter these things, how to take care of herself. Now, granted, there are always going to be some men out there who just can overpower any woman, right? And in that case, obviously being right, but see, part of this is being aware of your surroundings and being aware of the fact that I know my limitations by training, right? And being physically fit. I know my limitations. I know my surroundings, and therefore I pay attention to what's happening around me, right? By knowing what threats there are around me, knowing where I am, and also knowing that, right, that I can do what is necessary if I must. I live here in Arizona. I carry a gun on me every day. And an interesting thing is, I come from California, and in California, we're not allowed to carry like that. And so when I first moved here to Arizona, it felt really strange to me to have a loaded gun on my person, in my vehicle, at the ready. It felt really strange. It was awkward. A lifetime of that being not allowed. And I got used to it, and I got to feel safe with it, and I got to feel used to it, and I thought, you know what? This feels really good. You know, I don't want to use my gun ever. I don't want to use it. But just knowing that it's there, knowing that I have it, knowing that I know how to use it, and knowing that, you know, honestly, knowing that most of these other folks running around here are all strapped makes me feel safe. I'm not, that doesn't scare me. I feel safe, right? And one of the things that really came to it was when I came back to visit California for the first time. The last stop before I crossed the border, got out, did all the stuff, locked the gun up, put it away, and did my California rules and locked it up and put it away. And then I come inside of California. I got into Palm Springs and got off the freeway, and I thought to myself, you know what? Where's my, oh shit, I don't have my gun. And I felt, now really I felt strange. I felt naked. I felt unsafe. And I thought to myself, I'm looking around at some of the unscrupulous characters or you know, driving through a certain neighborhood. And I thought, you know what? These criminals, they don't have their guns locked up. They don't. These knuckleheads over here on the corner, they're probably strapped right now. They don't have their shit locked up. But I do. And I was like, well, what if one of these idiots wants to do something stupid? What am I going to go unlock my gun from the car and say, by then I'm dead. I mean, obviously, I'm get away, walk away, first of all, you know. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to pursue or whatever they've got going on. You know, they want to rob somebody. I mean, I'll give them my wallet. I'm not going to die for my wallet, right? But I'm just saying the feeling was, but that comes from somebody like me who's not afraid to do what's necessary, carry a weapon, use that weapon in the event that my life is threatened, or that the life of my loved ones are threatened, or the life of another human being might be threatened, because I believe that I have a duty to other humans as well, to protect them, right? That's why I joined the military, to protect others, to serve my community, to serve this community, the United States of America, to serve my fellow humans, because I believe in freedom and prosperity. So responsibility. I've taken on that responsibility to protect myself and to serve and protect others. That's a duty, an oath that I took. That's a state or fact of having a duty, the state or fact of being accountable, the opportunity to act independently, a thing that one is required to do as a role of protect, serve, a moral obligation. I believe I have a moral obligation to protect myself, to protect my family, and to protect the innocent and the weak. The weak, the meek, right? Those who are vulnerable, which would be children, old folks, right? Now, you can choose to make yourself vulnerable by not being in shape, by not doing some of the things that may be required of you as a human to be a healthy human being and to be able to take care of yourself, right? You can make yourself vulnerable. I've been that person before where I was out of shape and, probably I couldn't run I could. I could do a little bit. I wouldn't have ran for very far. I couldn't have jumped the fence or wall to save my life if needed be. And who's going to do that for you? Who's going to do that for you? So you have kids and you're morbidly obese and you're out of shape and your kid's in trouble. And you're going to go run over there and help your kid? What are you going to do? You're out of shape. You have no physical friggin' ability whatsoever. What are you going to do? Call somebody? How long is it going to take for them to get there? Do you have the knowledge? Do you know how to use a tourniquet? Do you know how to stop bleeding? Do you know CPR? Have you gone and got CPR training? First aid training and CPR training? You have a first aid kit? A decent first aid kit? First responders type of first aid kit, not just freaking Band-Aids? Do you have a first aid kit? Do you know how to use it? Do you know how to do a dressing? Do you know how to do these things? Or you're just going to call somebody else to come do it for you? Right? Me? I take responsibility for that. I'm first aid and CPR trained. It's with the infant. Right? I have a first aid kit. I know how to stop some bleeding. I know how to apply a tourniquet. Right? I know where the hospitals are so that I can apply a tourniquet if necessary, stop the bleeding, put somebody in the vehicle, and get them to the emergency room. I'm not calling and I'm not waiting for somebody to get here. I'm going to take on that responsibility. I'm going to do it. Okay? I broke my leg when I was skateboarding when I was 25 years old. Broke my ankle, dislocated it out to the side, and drove myself to the hospital. Right? Luckily, I had a vehicle that wasn't a clutch. That would have been shitty. Didn't have that, so that was a stroke of luck. But I drove myself to the hospital, right? And the people that were there at the park were like, "Do you want us to call the ambulance?" And I was like, "No, man. First of all, that's going to take them forever to get here. Secondly, do you know how much that shit cost?" It's like, can't afford that. But but I knew what I needed to do and got it done. Right? Dislocated ankle, pulled right up to the VA in Long Beach, and pulled right up to where the ambulances pull up at the emergency room. Opened up the door and I said, "Hey, can you go get me a wheelchair?" "Why is that?" "Oh, I broke my leg." "Oh yeah, we'll be right there." But did what was needed, did what was required of me to save my own life, right? And I would do that for any one of my friends if they got hurt. If they were bleeding, well, let's stop the bleeding. Let's do what we need to do. Let's get in the vehicle, find the nearest hospital, and let's get you there right now. We ain't waiting for the wagon. We're going to do what we need to do. Now, if it's something that's beyond a broken back or a broken neck or something like that, now obviously triage, right? And knowing yourself and knowing your capabilities, right? I don't know how to treat a broken back. That's for sure. I wouldn't mess with that. That's too much. That would be too much and outside of my realm of knowledge and responsibility, right? But up and into that, a broken leg, right? Compound fracture, the bones sticking out, we're going to be able to handle that, right? As long as the bleeding can be stopped and we can makeshift a stretcher, we'll get you in the vehicle and we'll get you there. Right? Now, obviously, I'm not going to do it against anybody else's will either. But a child, right, my daughter, she cracks her head or whatever, she needs to get to the ER, I'm going to take her. Right? We're going to stop the bleeding, and I'm going to take her. So, and that comes down to carrying a weapon and knowing how to use a firearm. I've been around firearms since I was 10 years old, right? Was taught how to use them properly, safely, and effectively. Firearms in the military, firearms on my own after, I got out and in my 30s decided that it was time for me to buy my own firearms and bought my own firearms and began to work with those firearms so that I know how to use them. My daughter, she'll be raised with firearms in the home. She'll be taught how to use those firearms. She'll be taught how to handle firearms, right? She'll be taught how to handle different firearms so that in the event that she comes in contact with firearms anywhere else, she'll know how to handle them, right? That's a responsibility that I'm going to pass on to her. That's because I believe that in this country where we have all the guns and the rights to have the weapons, that it's your personal responsibility to know how to handle those weapons safely. Your responsibility, right? Anyone I come in contact with that wants to learn, I find it my responsibility to teach them, right? People that have relationships with me, do you know how to use a weapon? Do you want to learn? Let me teach you. I think it's very important that you learn how to handle firearms because we live in a country where there are firearms. And you should know. You should know. Right? You should not pass that off onto somebody else. You should learn it. That's your responsibility to learn because they're here. You never know. You might come across somebody that has a firearm. What if you come across somebody that's in help and in need, right? And they have a firearm. And you're going to need to know how to disarm that so that it's safe, so that you may be able to handle this person. Or if you come into somebody's home, right, and they have a firearm, you don't know you should know what to do with that, right? What if Grandpa has firearms? And Grandpa passes away, and you have to come into his home, and you have to go through his things. And you come across guns, and you don't know how to handle those guns. Next thing you know, you fucking shot yourself in the foot because you didn't know what to do with those weapons. That's your responsibility. Right? Or are you going to blame grandpa for having that? You know what I mean? You want to blame somebody? But that's your responsibility to know how to handle firearms. To have enough knowledge at least to disarm the thing, safely handle it. Right? Personal responsibility. What other things are we responsible for? It's your responsibility to get out on that road and drive safely. Put your phone down. Get that phone out of your hand. That vehicle you have is a deadly thing, and you have a responsibility. You have a duty as your role of a responsible you have a moral obligation to behave correctly or in respect of other drivers on the road. And I'd be willing to bet you that you're at home bitching about taking away somebody's AR-15, but yet you're on the fucking freeway handling your phone and swerving all over, putting hundreds if not thousands of lives at danger every day. But you want to take but that doesn't feel like the same thing, does it? Because you're in your vehicle every day, right? It doesn't feel like the same thing. But that automobile is a deadly weapon, a weapon of mass destruction, as Mr. Newsom would say. It's not the same thing as an AR-15, but that vehicle is a deadly weapon. More people die from car crashes every day than die from AR-15s. But nobody wants to take away a car. And this issue bugs me because it's about personal responsibility. People are afraid to take personal responsibility. Try it on. Try it. Go out there. Find something to be responsible for and don't let somebody else do it. You take on the responsibility. Volunteer for it. Right? Go volunteer for a class that teaches you how to handle firearms, even if you don't like them. Even better if you don't like them. Just go learn how to handle them, how to disarm them, how to handle them, how to shoot one. Right? Just go try it. Go learn how to take on a new responsibility, educate yourself in a new way. You may come out of there and you still hate guns. Sweet. But at least you'll have an understanding of how to handle one a little bit and not be so reliant on somebody else to be able to handle it for you. You know what I mean? You'll have a new knowledge base. You'll understand some of the tools that are available and tools, and I don't mean available as in using the tool, using the weapon, but a tool for yourself, the tool of knowledge of understanding how to disarm a weapon if the event comes that you may need to do that. Right? Take on another responsibility for yourself. Right? Take on the responsibility of learning how to go take on a CPR class. Right? That's another thing you can do. Right? That's another responsibility. CPR certified. Not only will you be a benefit to your family, but you may be a benefit to somebody on the street who gets in trouble. And now you know how to help them. Right? First aid. Take a first aid class. Learn how to apply a tourniquet. Learn how to stop some bleeding. Right? Learn how to triage a little bit. Which wounds might be the most important wounds? Where are the major arteries in the body? That one's gushing. That one's oozing. You know what I mean? Learn some of that stuff. It's important. Take on a responsibility. And the more responsibility you take on and the more tools you have, the less fear you will feel towards situations where you didn't know what you could or should do. You'll have less fear. You'll have more courage, and you'll be less reliant on somebody else to come in and take care of the thing that you're going to need. You'll be less reliant, right? And the more responsible, you may even find yourself wanting to take on more responsibility. Give it a shot. All right, folks, a little bit of a rant there, but I feel like it's important. Personal responsibility, man. Take on some responsibility. Find some things in your life where you can take on the responsibility. Like I said, I give a couple suggestions. CPR, first aid. Maybe take on the responsibility of getting into a little bit better shape so you have a better chance at some things, right? But there you go, man. Those are some steps. Those are some responsibilities. Find out what other things you might be able to take on some responsibilities for, and let me know. Get in those comments. Let me know. And I love you guys. Peace. I'm out.
You know what time it
Time to
is.
stand up and speak your mind. In this elitist jungle, keep the beats alive. Whether yoga or doja that keeps you high. Gotta stay up, cause on the street you die. Time to wake up and see the light. Stop counting sheep, seize your life. Free your eyes and see suns rise on the horizon, where the street meets the sky. The masses' ignorance feeds our masters' greed. Open your mind and read some chapters.